Welcome into the Triple Threat Show special Thursday edition. We are your hosts, Jeremy Lapidus and Mehrob Fatemi. Welcome in on a beautiful Thursday morning. We are here because it is a special circumstance. Lots of college football to talk about. Week 1 kicks off tonight. We didn't really talk about week 0, but it was crazy in its own right. We saw top 25 upsets over in the Aer Lingus Classic in Ireland. Hawaii winning on a last-second field goal, a huge win for them. Let's see if the momentum of college football can continue into week 1. And we start off strong tonight. Number 25, Boise State, the group of 5 champion from last season, favored by 5.5 points, going down to South Florida, who has been waiting for their opportunity to take down one of these big dogs, prove that they are one of the top group of 5 teams for a long time over there in the American Conference. South Florida hosts Boise State, a Boise State team that, while depleted, is still in the top 25. Mehrob ranked at number 25, favored by 5.5 points heading into this one. They don't have Ashton Genty anymore, but they still have Maddox Madsen, their quarterback from last season. They still have a lot of key talent that brought them to the playoffs. How is this game going to go?
Yeah, this is an interesting one, Jeremy. And honestly, I'm so happy before we get the NFL season getting ready to kick off, of course, we always have to look at the collegiate league. The next guy's up, and this is week 1 for them. This is where it all begins, my friend, with football starting. But for this game, I'm kind of looking at USF's quarterback, Byron Brown. I'm looking at Byron Brown to kind of take control of this offense. We saw him kind of show up in a big way last year. He had a couple explosive games, had like 5 touchdowns in one game. I'm looking for him not to do that every single game, but kind of to continue his growth, continue his consistency. I mean, he's a big time guy. He's 6'3", 230 pounds, can launch it. So I mean, I'm looking at him to continue to take strides as a big time quarterback, and I'm looking at South Florida to possibly pull off the upset here against Boise State.
It very well could happen. Now, I'm not taking that route. I think Boise State is still the best team in the group of 5, but South Florida, do not sleep on them. I think 5.5 points is a lot, so I might take South Florida with the points. But if you're asking me on the money line here, I'm taking Boise State here. Mehrob, we're doing tallies. We're doing tallies for college football and the NFL this year. I'm dropping this on you now, but we're gonna keep track of who's got a better crystal ball of sorts here. I'm taking Boise State here to win this game. You said you also had Boise State, or you taking South Florida?
We're splitting early on. First game of the week. I'm going South Florida for the upset.
All right. Final game on Friday that I wanted to talk about here. Nebraska, favored by 6.5 points as the Cornhuskers travel to take on the Cincinnati Bearcats. Now, this game will be taking place in Arrowhead Stadium, a neutral site game. This is going to be really interesting. Cincinnati, of course, the group of 5 team that made it to the college football playoffs all those years ago. This is a much different Cincinnati team than before, and this is a very similar Nebraska team to last year. A Nebraska team that was a fringe top 25 school for a lot of the season, but the offense imploded once they got into Big Ten play down the stretch. Dylan Raiola was a true freshman quarterback last year. The mini Mahomes now gets a chance to kick off his season where Big Mahomes plays his games. So that will be very interesting to watch. Nebraska, I don't necessarily love this year. Do I think they'll be better than Cincinnati? Probably. But this is not a Nebraska team that I think got too much better from last season. I don't think they're going to quite get all of the attention that they got last year because of the way that it ended with Dylan Raiola. People that I've seen online are kind of done with his Mahomes copying act because it's a little much. I don't know if you've seen that, Mayrob, but it's a little much. It's not the fact that he looks like him. It's fine if you look like him. He came out in a quote the other day and was like, I can't control what genes God gave me. I just look like him. But you can control if you wear your big thick pit viper glasses to the game. You can control if you shave your face the exact same way. You can control if you jump around on the field the exact same way that Mahomes does. There's things you can control. And again, it's not necessarily a bad thing to be like the best quarterback in the NFL. That's generally a good thing. But also, it comes to a point where it feels like you're just trying to be a doppelganger and like be your own man. Come on, do your own thing. But I am still riding with the Cornhuskers early on in this one. Cincinnati, I think, is going to put up a good fight, and this one should be one of the better games, maybe the best game of Friday, 9 p.m. on ESPN. So that one's going to be really fun to watch. But I am leaning with the now sophomore quarterback in Dylan Raiola to take care of business over Cincinnati.
Oh boy, oh boy. Real quick before I jump in, for those that don't know what Jeremy's talking about, this is the comparison that we're talking about here. It is absolutely ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. You can't even tell which one's which. You
Nope,
can't.
not at a quick glance. It's crazy.
It's insane. But no, for this game, I'm actually I might actually we might have to go 0-2 in terms of agreement here, Jeremy. I'm rolling with Cincinnati on this one. I know they kind of gave up as many points as they scored last year, giving up 24.6, scoring about 25.2 a game. But I mean, across the board, I mean, I like Brendan Sorsby. Kiner had a pretty good year last year, had 1,100 yards. That quarterback, like I mentioned, Sorsby, 18 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, completed about 64% of his passes. Across the board, I mean, this is just a little bit of a little bit older of a Cincinnati team, and I'm kind of leaning on that experience to kind of get him past week one. Dylan Raiola could shock me, and of course that is the factor that's kind of making this tough to decide. But I mean, in terms of the offense, in terms of who I can trust more, I think I got to roll with Cincinnati on this one. I think I got Cincinnati pulling off yet another upset on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. The experience factor is a huge thing, and I talk about it all the time. When we did our top 25, that was something that I harped on all the time, so that's absolutely a factor. I think that's why this game is going to be so close. So I can definitely see your point. Those are the two big Thursday games. There's, of course, a lot more games on Thursday, but we're going to find our way right into the future for Friday's action. There's a couple games here that I thought were interesting. I'm going to start with some smaller schools, some North Carolina action. App State favored by 2.5, traveling to Charlotte. Excuse me, favored by 5.5, traveling to Charlotte. This is not necessarily going to be the biggest game, but selfishly, this is one that I'm paying attention to as someone that's a fan of a Sun Belt school. Charlotte, one of those group of five team that's pretty solid all the time, as well as App State. They had a bad year last year. They lose their starting quarterback in Joey Aguilar. So I'm really curious on how they are going to come out this season, how they're going to attack with a new quarterback and everything that went wrong last season, as they were a team that was a dark horse to be that playoff team from the group of five last year until everything fell apart. I think the Mountaineers will be able to get it done, but I still don't think they're going to be back to their glory of 2 or 3 years ago when they were arguably the best team in the group of five.
Yeah, no, I mean, App State is always one of those teams that comes out that is always competitive in the Sun Belt. And I mean, last year, when you have a quarterback that throws for over 3,000 yards, you expect them to win a decent amount of games, but they only went 5-6 last year. They actually had a losing record. So I mean, this is a little bit of a weird App State team. And I mean, the reason why they're 5-6 and is probably the key factor of this game. How is that defense going to improve? I mean, we saw them giving up over 30 points a game last year. I mean, as good as Joey Aguilar is, I love that offense. I think it's going to be a big time part of it. But is that Charlotte offense going to be able to also score on that App State defense? That's going to be the question. Can Omega Blake continue to grow his career? I mean, he didn't have too much to work with, or not Omega Blake, excuse me. Sean Pirtle didn't have a lot to work with last year. Didn't have a great season, but I mean, I'm leaning App State as well on this one. I'm just not. I don't like Charlotte's chances in a shootout against App State, and I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. That defense is a little bit concerning, though. Two other huge games on Friday. Auburn taking on Baylor. Auburn, a 2.5 point favorite in this one. SEC versus Big 12. Experience versus experience, really. Jackson Arnold for Auburn taking that starting helm yet again. He was a former top quarterback recruit out of the pipeline at a high school. He hasn't quite lived up to that action. Neither has this Auburn team, but there is a lot of buzz around Auburn football this year. They travel to Baylor, though, a team that was red hot to end the season, ended near the top 25, ended in my top 25 at the end of the year, but just had a little bit too slow of a start to the season to get any kind of playoff push. But they were very, very dangerous down the stretch, and they're going to look to ride that momentum. I think Baylor gets this upset here. As much as Hugh Freeze and Jackson Arnold and that Auburn team are going to be good, they're going on the road to a raucous stadium over in Texas to play Baylor, and that is not an easy situation to be in, especially for game one. They'll have time to prepare, and I think this really is going to come down to the wire, but I'm taking the Bears to upset the Tigers in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, man. I mean, unless unless Auburn can pull off a crazy upset and walk into, like you said, into Texas and pull off something crazy on that field, Baylor's just going to be absolutely rocking. It's one of the hardest places to play. It's one of the most diehard fan bases across college football. I mean, there's a lot to love about Auburn, but Baylor's just a tough place to play. And that Baylor offense looked really good last year. 1,000-yard rusher, 3,000-yard passer. I mean, across the board, you have Dawson Pendergrass as well. I mean, across the board, this is a really great Baylor team on both sides of the ball. I'm going to roll with the Bears as well to win. I wouldn't say easily, but probably 7 to 10 points as well in this one, I'd say.
Big one, big one, big upset alert over in Baylor. Final game of Friday that I wanted to talk about. Two teams that one we know a lot about how they're going to look, and one nobody really knows how they're going to be this season. Georgia Tech travels to Colorado, takes on Deion Sanders' team in a real transition year. It was a tumultuous offseason, no doubt about it. Georgia Tech favored by 4.5 in this one. You have Hayes King, the returning quarterback. You have Haynes, the running back, also returning there for Georgia Tech, and that is a team that just will run the ball at you. Last year, that defense for Colorado was not very good, especially against the run. They got a little bit better in the transfer portal. They brought in a lot of players from the transfer portal, but the big question is with that offense. You lose your Heisman winning Travis Hunter, wide receiver and cornerback, your best player on offense and on defense. You lose your quarterback in Shedeur Sanders, no longer on the team. Deion Sanders had a health scare that he was fighting all offseason. We have no idea how this team is going to look, Mehrob. And I don't know if they're going to come out looking very good. We saw them come out slow last season, almost losing to North Dakota State in a game that I thought they were going to lose. They pull it out in the end because of how high-powered that offense is. But I don't know if I can trust that Colorado defense against a Georgia Tech team that, if you let them, will run it all over you, down your throat, over your head. They will not let you get any breathing room. And if you find a way to stop them, slow them down, they're just going to run all the clock, and you won't have a lot of time on offense to get it done. Your defense is going to get tired. This is a Georgia Tech team that I love this season. They're favored by 4.5 on the road in Colorado. I think they win this one big, maybe even double digits.
Who do you have winning in double digits? Georgia Tech?
Georgia Tech, yeah.
Georgia Tech. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, this is the thing. Coach Prime, I mean, this is now year 3 of Deion Sanders being at Colorado. And I mean, yes, he's gone 2-0 in his season opener so far. But the problem is they don't have a Travis Hunter anymore. They don't have Shedeur Sanders anymore. They lost a lot of key pieces in on that Boulder sideline And I think Georgia Tech's one of those teams. They also, I mean, Georgia Tech retained a lot of their players as well. They got, um, I'm kind of leaning your way. I don't know if it's going to be a double digit win for Georgia Tech, but I think Georgia Tech gets this one by probably a touchdown. Probably comes down to the wire, but Georgia Tech ends up getting a game-winning touchdown, in my opinion. So we're both on the same side, I think. Georgia Tech for the win on this one.
Yeah, I think they absolutely dominate. Those are the big Friday games. Now we get to Saturday action, the greatest day in college football, where some of the biggest game of the week, in fact, I think the two biggest games of the week take place on Saturday. And why don't we start off with the biggest one of all? Arguably, the biggest game one of week one in college football history. Ohio State, the reigning national champions, number three in the nation, favored by 1.5 points at home against Arch Manning and the number one ranked Texas Longhorns. This is really, really interesting. Of course, Ohio State lost so much. They lost their top left tackle. They lost their quarterback. They lost some wide receivers. They lost some running backs. They lost just about every single piece that you could imagine from an old, experienced college football championship winning team. That's not to say Ohio State is going to be bad, because Ohio State has replacements at every single position except for maybe quarterback. We've seen this movie play out before where they're still going to be good. No doubt about it. Ohio State still going to be good. We saw it with Kyle McCord a couple seasons ago. But an inexperienced quarterback with Julian Sayin, it's not a good look for them. Going up against a Texas team that, yes, they also lost a lot of key pieces. They lost their wide receiver 1 and 2. They lost their starting quarterback, although no one's talking about that because they have Arch Manning waiting in the wings, who people think might win the Heisman, might go number 1 overall if he was going to be in this draft, which, by the way, he's not going to be in this draft. They keep saying that he's not going to go into the draft after just one season. He wants that collegiate experience. But regardless of all of that, this is a Texas team that, much like Ohio State, lost a lot of talent this offseason to the NFL especially, but both of these teams have retooled, and this game should be absolutely amazing up in Columbus. The final game of Lee Corso over on College Game Day before he hangs it up and goes to enjoy retirement. But this game is arguably, like I said, the biggest game of any game that's taken place in week one in college football history. If you look at the coaches poll, it's the first time the number one and number two team in college football has met in week one ever. This is a massive, massive game, and I'm rolling with the underdogs. I know it doesn't seem like an underdog since they're ranked number one, but Ohio State is favored in this one. They get that little hometown boost, that home field advantage. I'm rolling with Texas. I think they have a better quarterback. I trust that both of these teams retooled really, really good, and both of these teams are going to be in the 12-team playoff. They might even have a rematch in the 12-team playoff. But in week one, I don't know if I can trust a freshman quarterback who has less than 100 total passing yards over his career. I just don't know if it's going to be enough against a really good Texas defense. I'm rolling with Texas in a close one over Ohio State.
Yeah, this is going to be an unbelievable game. And honestly, these two teams are most likely going to see each other once again in the playoffs. It's a rematch of last year's college football playoff semifinals as well. The last time we saw this matchup, Texas lost to Ohio State in that semifinal matchup. The one thing I am looking at though for this one, it's going to be about how, like you said, that freshman quarterback in Ohio State is going to be able to handle the pressure. There's pressure, honestly, on both quarterbacks as well. Archie Manning hasn't thrown a pass in an opposing stadium so far. He's only thrown 95 passes, and he hasn't thrown one in an opposing stadium so far. And the first one has to be in Ohio State. It's going to be interesting to see how Ohio State's going to be able to get in his head. That fan base is probably going to be very loud. I would not be shocked if Manning starts off a little bit slow, starts off a little bit sluggish, if the nerves start to get to him a little bit. But I mean, I kind of want to roll with the Buckeyes on this one. I just trust that offense a little bit more. Jeremiah Smith is the real deal. He's one of the best wide receivers, and I think he's probably the best. He's probably the best wide receiver outside of Alabama's. young wide receiver. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I mean, he's going to be one of the top three wide receivers going into the draft this next year, I should say. So across the board, I mean, I really like this Ohio State offense. Both quarterbacks kind of give me little cause to pause. Definitely, definitely favoring Texas is Archie Manning, no doubt. But I think I have to roll with the home field advantage and go with the Buckeyes on this one.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that happen. And you talk about what those wide receivers can do, both him and Ryan Williams over in Alabama. Those two guys
Thank
might be the best college football players, just period, in the sport. Look out for them to maybe be on Heisman watch this season. It makes it a lot easier for a true freshman quarterback when you can throw it up to Jeremiah Smith. For sure, it's like having a little bit of a cheat code there, no doubt about it. So this one should be really fun to watch. And like I said, maybe the biggest game in Week 1 college football history. That's going to be must-watch television on Saturday. Going down to a game that I think will be interesting as well. Syracuse takes on number 24 Tennessee. Tennessee is favored by nearly 2 touchdowns in this one, 13.5 points. Both of these teams lost their quarterbacks for different reasons this offseason. Kyle McCord went to the NFL, just got cut by the Eagles, went in the 6th round. You had Nico Imaliava, who was the quarterback for Tennessee, want more money, not get more money. Goes to UCLA. Who knows if that's going to work out for them or for Tennessee. Tennessee now brings in Joey Aguilar, former quarterback of App State, transferred to UCLA in what was basically a quarterback trade between UCLA and Tennessee earlier this offseason. It's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. I don't love Tennessee's chances. I like Joey Aguilar. I think he's a really solid quarterback, but going up against a team in Fran Brown, a coach in Fran Brown, and a team in Syracuse who just had one of their best seasons in program history, it's not an easy game. No doubt about that. I think 13.5 is way too many points. It is in Tennessee, so that's going to give them a little bit of an advantage there. I think I'm rolling with Syracuse, though. I'm taking the upset here. I like this Syracuse team. I like what they're able to do. They also lost a lot to the draft. They were an old team last year. But Tennessee, I think they lost just a little bit too much as well, and I don't love that offensive situation for them. I think that Syracuse is a better quarterback situation, and because of that, this is my big upset of the week. I'm taking the Orange to take down the Volunteers.
That is a big time call, Jeremy. And just to put it into perspective, Tennessee has an 88% favor rate to win this game. 88%. Syracuse only has a 12% according to the computer odds. It is, and the Volunteers are heavily favored in this one. I don't really know what I think for this one. I mean, this is a really interesting matchup. It's an SEC versus an ACC matchup, especially at the beginning of the season. We usually don't see stuff like this in week 1 at least. Um, Part of me wants to roll with you and say Syracuse. It really does. Like rolling with the underdog, especially with Steve Angeli, the transfer from Notre Dame coming in for Tennessee to take over that quarterback position. But I just can't turn a blind eye from the Volunteers. I mean, I can't. I mean, they won't have Dylan Sampson anymore for the brown and orange. But I mean, I have to roll with Tennessee to get this one. I don't think it's going to be by 13.5 points, but I think I have to roll with the Volunteers to get this one by within 7 to 10 points, I'd say.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think 13.5 points is way too much either way. And I don't blame anybody for not going as far as I did because that is a little bit of a scorcher right there. But we stand by it. I think this is a Syracuse team that's going to surprise some people this year. Going down to the SEC, we continue. And number 8, Alabama travels to Florida State. Another SEC ACC matchup right there. This one's interesting. Now, Alabama similarly favored by 13.5 points here, but this is at Florida State. Florida State and Doak is officially remodeled. You get a brand new-ish stadium, new stuff for the fans over there. And Florida State coming off of an abysmal season, just a season where they were looking to prove that they belonged in the playoffs. They got screwed from the playoffs 2 years ago, and they fall flat on their face. Everything goes wrong that could possibly go wrong for them. They were ranked in the top 10 to begin the season, quickly ranked towards the bottom half of the entirety of college football. Not a good look for them. Mike Norvell's squad wants revenge. I don't know if it's going to come against this Alabama team that I think is a real national championship threat. Maybe the best team in the SEC. They have everything they need to succeed. This is what Kalen DeBoer was waiting on. It took him a year to get his guys in, a big transition period from Nick Saban to Kalen DeBoer, but this is the year that people remember that Alabama is Alabama. It doesn't matter if Nick Saban is coaching, if Kalen DeBoer is coaching, who both are very great coaches, by the way. This is going to be a team that's going to be dominant. I'm taking Alabama to beat Florida State. Maybe not by 13.5, because I think Florida State will be better. But I still think Alabama wins this one pretty comfortably.
I agree. Honestly, I echo everything that you just said. I mean, I think this is going to be the beginning of Alabama's dominance back to putting themselves back on the map. I don't know why, when they fell off and when people started to think Alabama was a sucky uh, college just because Nick Saban doesn't coach there anymore. But they're still a powerhouse in the SEC, and they're still going to have their footprints all over the playoff, how the playoff ends up rolling this year. I think there's still a legitimate threat for the national championship as well. And I think this is just the first footstep for them. I say take the spread take the points in favor of Alabama because I think they trounce Florida State in this one.
All right. I love it. I love it. I love it. Coastal Carolina continues our romp around college football. They travel to Virginia, take on the Hoos. The Cavaliers favored by 11.5. This is the best situation the Cavaliers have been in a long time. They have their best quarterback since Bryce Perkins, who in the NFL, pretty solid. But this is still a Virginia team that's been one of the worst teams in all of the FBS. Just one of the worst Power 4 teams in the FBS over the last couple seasons. This is a year that they desperately need in order to prove that they belong, and Coastal Carolina is going to be a real test. They're not the cream of the crop of Sun Belt schools, but they're no slouch either. They're not going to be an easy out. They can give you a real good fight. I think Virginia pulls this one out, but 11.5 is a little rich for my blood. I'm looking more towards the 7 to 10 kind of range.
Yeah, honestly, I'm right there with you. I think Coastal's always a tough team to read on paper, especially before week one, because they can either have those hot seasons like they had 3 years ago when they became a top 25 team and almost made the playoffs, or they can have years like last year where they barely they didn't even scratch up to 500, went 5-8, and called it a day. Sometimes it's very up and down with this team, especially early on. So part of me wants to roll with Virginia. I think the Chanticleers are going to have a little bit of a bounce back season this year. Maybe not bounce back, but are going to do better than what they did. I just don't like that 11.5. I'm right there. I think that's too many points, really. Like 11.5 in week one in a pretty close matchup here. I mean, it's tough for me to pick Coastal Carolina, but I'm rolling with Virginia by like a 3 to 7 point margin on this one. I think it's going to be a really close game and an exciting game, I'd say.
Yeah, I could see this one being a lot closer than some people think. But now for my personal favorite game of the week. I talked up Texas versus Ohio State because it deserves to be hyped up. But my favorite game of week one, we see in Georgia, in Atlanta, as number 9 LSU in a neutral site game travels to number 4 Clemson, another SEC ACC matchup. both of these teams with Heisman hopefuls at quarterback, Cade Klubnik for Clemson, Garrett Nussmeier for LSU. Clemson favored by 4.5 points in this one. This one should be an absolute barn burner. You've heard my thoughts on Clemson. I think they're the best team in the nation. I think that they are going to win the national championship, and I think they've got a real shot to potentially go undefeated, but that all has to start against number 9 LSU. We have seen LSU with Nussmeier, who some people are saying is the best quarterback in college football, potentially the number 1 overall pick this season. This is going to be an amazing game at a neutral site. 4.5 points is a lot of points. I would have set this one at 2.5 just because it's a neutral site game and both of these teams are national championship hopefuls, but I don't necessarily disagree. I like Clemson in this one. Clemson is my team. I'm rocking with the Tigers and Dabo Swinney and Cade Klubnik and all the veterans that they have over there. They worked for Ohio State last year. They got one of, if not the best defensive players from the transfer portal to commit to Clemson. They never used the transfer portal, but they used it for this special exception as they go all in on route to potentially winning the national championship. Give me the Clemson Tigers in the Tiger Bowl over LSU.
From the top 25, from the Jeremy top 25 list, this is the 1-5 matchup, right? Or the 1-6 matchup?
1-6, I believe.
1-6. Yeah, these are two top teams in Jeremy's book. And honestly, I kind of echo them, honestly. I don't know how I take that back because I did take a little bit of a pause with LSU this year just because I didn't know how good they're going to be. They lost a lot of pieces on both sides of the ball there, but I really do like Clemson. I'm rolling with Clemson and Cade Klubnik to continue his tear on the ACC. I mean, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, over 3,600 yards. Just was on an absolute tear last year, and I think he continues it. I really like this kid, and I think he's going to be on Heisman watch this year. I really think so, leading this Clemson offense. I think I'm rolling with Clemson. I think, and also the spread's plus 3.5 now as well in favor of LSU. So take the points for Clemson. I'd really say so.
I'm sorry, I completely missed it. I was double checking my rankings. Did you say you had Clemson here?
I did.
All right, got to put that in our tally marks here. This one going to be a real big one. Coming off of that one, Georgia Southern at Fresno State. The reason I put this one in here is because we saw Fresno State play last week, and it was not good. It was not good, to say the least. They got their faces kicked in against a good Kansas team, but still not good for a Fresno State team that, was flirting early season with the top 25 last year. Georgia Southern, always dangerous out of the Sun Belt. I don't necessarily think these are teams that are going to be competing for a playoff spot, but still a pretty solid group of 5 matchup here. I'm rolling with the Sun Belt. I'm rolling with Georgia Southern, favored by 1.5 in this one. They're always dangerous, although this is on the road, so it would be a little bit of what I think some people might consider an upset, but I am rolling with Georgia Southern in this one.
Yeah, I'm honestly right there with you. I mean, Fresno State looked absolutely abysmal last week. I almost said last year, and then last week. Football's here, brother. We gotta get into the mindset of it. Fresno State just looked really bad. I gotta roll with Georgia Southern to get this one done. I mean, there's not a whole lot else to say about that one.
Just like that, man, we finished our Saturday slate with this one. Cal, the Golden Bears, travel to Oregon State, a former Pac-12 matchup, now ACC versus Pac-12, which Cal in the ACC, whatever. This has been a whole thing forever. But this one's going to be really interesting. Cal loses their best runner. They lose their quarterback, a team that was ranked in the top 25 for a cup of tea last season, played Miami really close last season, goes up against an Oregon State team. Favored by 1.5 is Oregon State at home. This one should be really interesting. I'm rolling with Oregon State. I think that Cal lost a little bit too much this offseason. That's not to say that Cal's going to be bad. Cal, I think, is going to be a solid ACC team. They'll probably make a bowl game this year, but I think Oregon State has the upside to potentially sneak into that college football playoff as, I guess, the group of 5 representative is what you might call them, if that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm actually. This is another one that I might have to split off with you. I kind of like Cal in this one. I mean, this is one of the better games of the weekend as well. This is gonna be a sneaky game. If you guys don't have anything going on Saturday late night, and you get home late from the bar and you just want to hang out and sit on the couch, watch a game, fourth quarter, throw this one on. I mean, just throw it on. It is going to be a really fun one. I mean, we have we have a freshman quarterback coming out there for the Golden Bears, and that's going to be where this game is going to be won. If I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name because I'm not going to even try to butcher it right now, but I'm rolling with California to get this one. I mean, I really think so. It's a nice and improved offense, and as well as Oregon State is. I really like Cal to get this one down on the defensive side of the ball.
A little bit of Pac-12 after dark action. Bring back the classics here. Should be a lot of fun to close out a great Saturday of college football. But we still have 2 more days to go through. A packed college football week 1. And Sunday is not going to disappoint. Whenever college football has Sunday, they give you some big brands, some big games, including another game in Atlanta as Virginia Tech hopefully looks to have their first good season in a while. Brent Pry, their head coach, on the hot seat. They need a good one. Kyron Drones in his 3rd year. Can he stay healthy? Can he be that guy? Travels to Atlanta, neutral site, takes on number 13 South Carolina. I know, Mehrob, you are a huge Gamecocks fan this season. You have Lenora Sellers, you were telling me, as your Heisman favorite. That's a little bit of a hot take. I think he's going to be great. Heisman, I don't know that far, but South Carolina favored by just 7.5 points. They're giving some respect to the Hokies over there. It's going to be a really interesting game. I think South Carolina rolls in this one. But do not sleep on the Hokies because they are a team that is sleeping. If you wake up the Giants, if you poke the bee's nest, be prepared to get stung. And that is what this team is in the Hokies this season.
You're not wrong. I just think South Carolina is going to come out on an absolute tear this year. I mean, they did lose some talent on the back line. They lost Nick Amanwari to Seattle, the second round pick, this one of the best cornerbacks in the draft this past season. But I mean, you said it best. You kind of stole my thunder. I mean, Lenora Sellers is my Heisman front runner this year. I mean, he went on an absolute tear to finish the season last year. I think South Carolina kind of got hosed in terms of possibly making a playoff spot, but nonetheless, I think this is their year. They're ranked number 13 running going into the year, and I mean, like I said, Lenora Sellers is just going to be on an absolute tear this year. He was so good last year, and I think he continues that streak, being able to escape the pocket, his arm strength, his clutch, being able to keep his poise in the clutch and lead game-winning drives. He's got a little bit of that Matt Stafford in him. I don't know why. Some of that Matt Stafford clutchness down the stretch. So I'm rolling with the Gamecocks to get this one.
Yeah. Lenora Sellers, the truth, absolutely. That leads us to our final Sunday game, the 3rd of 3 top 10 matchups in week 1. There's a reason that we are dedicating a whole episode to this preview because there are three top 10 matchups here. Very, very exciting. As Notre Dame, favored by 2.5, travel to Miami to take on Carson Beck and the Hurricanes. This one's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I will say, I'm not super high on Miami this year. I'm not a big Carson Beck guy. And I know a lot of people are. That's not without good reason. Carson Beck has led some very successful Georgia teams, but I'm willing to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say it wasn't because of Carson Beck. Carson Beck is fine. Carson Beck is a good quarterback, a good college quarterback. But if you expect him to do what Cam Ward did last season, putting up 40, 50 points a game to hide that Miami defense, I just don't see it. It's just not going to happen. That's not to say that this Miami defense is as bad as last year. I think it's better, no doubt about it. A little bit better, but improvement is improvement, right? Notre Dame, on the other hand, made the national championship game on the strength of their defense. Marcus Freeman, a defensive coach, still will build a really elite defense. They lost some key pieces, Benjamin Morrison, the corner, Xavier Watts, the safety, but they'll be able to get guys to replace them, play good defense. Notre Dame usually steps up big time for these matchups. They have CJ Carr, most likely. I don't think they've announced a starter yet, but I expect it to be CJ Carr, the true freshman quarterback, who I've heard a lot of talk as being one of the best quarterbacks that Marcus Freeman has had at Notre Dame. And we saw how far they made it last year with Riley Leonard. I'm taking Notre Dame, who's favored by 2.5, to win this one pretty handily, actually. I think they show up, show why they were in the national championship game last year, and a big coming out party for CJ Carr.
Yeah, I mean that CJ Carr. I think the pressure for if Notre Dame is to win this game, it's going to be on the back of CJ Carr, and I say that because not because I have a lot of hope in Carson. Not because of the Carson Beck led offense. I mean, I think Carson Beck is going to do fine. I think he's going to be able to game manage that Miami offense pretty well for the most part for Miami. But I also think we're starting to we had a lot of great reasons and valid reasons to hate Miami's defense. They were one of the worst in the country last year. That secondary's improved a lot from what I've heard, from what I'm hearing from the coaching staff so far, and I'm kind of starting to buy into it a little bit. I might have to go with the opposite side, Jeremy, on this one, and go with Miami to get this one. I mean, they're playing at home in Hard Rock, home stadium. Carson Beck taking the field for the first time. I have to roll with Miami to get this one. And I don't have hope in Notre Dame's offense to be able to keep up. Their defense might be able to stifle Miami a little bit, but I don't think their offense is going to be able to take over. And I think Miami's defense is going to stand tall a little bit.
Yeah, I could absolutely see it. Like I said, that defense is improved, no doubt about it. But I'm just not in love with Carson Beck, and I don't think he's got what it takes to lead this team against a good Notre Dame squad to success. Finally, our final game as we wrap up our show here on Monday, the one and only game, Bill Belichick's debut for college football with the Tar Heels. He hosts the TCU Horned Frogs. Frogs favored by 3.5 points in this one. They are a veteran team. Veteran teams are dangerous. UNC has a lot of transfers. Transfer teams either end up like Florida State last year or they end up like Ohio State last year, right? These are teams that are either going to be really good or really bad. There's not really too much of an in between. I want to believe in Bill Belichick, Mehrob. I want to say that it's going to be a magical Monday night over in Chapel Hill. I want to say that the Horned Frogs aren't going to be able to get it done with their defense that gave up way too many points last year, a quarterback that turned the ball over way too much last year against an elite defensive coach. But I don't know if I can say that, Mehrob. I don't know if this is going to go the way that people want it to. I think the Horned Frogs make a statement. I think they take down Bill Belichick in a close one. I think 3.5 points is a lot, really, for a game like this. But I don't think that UNC is going to gel right away in a tough matchup. Lights are bright for these young kids, and I don't know how well Bill Belichick is going to have them prepared, and maybe that's sacrilege on my part. But I'm going with the Frogs.
It's very fair, and I don't know a whole lot about how North Carolina is going to look this year, and that's the biggest thing that we're going to look for. Excuse me. Okay, I thought I had to sneeze. One of those moments where you didn't know if you have to sneeze or not. It just, whew. Right off the bat, I don't know if you saw this, Jeremy, but I mean, at first glance, when you look at any type of news on this, the Tar Heel Times has their starting headline for a preview for this: "Magic in the making" when talking about Gio Lopez,
I
the
love
starting
Gio
quarterback.
Lopez. I think he's going to be great.
He's great. I mean, the kid from South Alabama last year just transferred over. But I mean, they're comparing him, they're reminding him of Magic Johnson, comparing a guy like this. Like, I'm not saying I'm buying in at all, but not even but. I'm just saying I kind of have to roll with Bill Belichick on this one. I can't see Bill Belichick showing up in the college football scene and starting off with an L. I mean, there's a very high chance of it, but there's a likelihood of it, but I'm just not rolling with it. I'm rolling with UNC to get this one. Why? I don't know. I just got to roll with Bill Belichick and the experience on this
You
one.
trust in a great coach, and that is not a bad thing at all. It's always good to trust in a great coach in Bill Belichick. There's lots to love in college football here, Mehrob. There's 7 points to split between us. We went over 15 games today. We disagreed on 7 of them. So this will be a real good way to start off our college football little scoreboard here. We'll do the same thing for the NFL starting next week. But thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Triple Threat Show. We will be back maybe on Friday, maybe on Labor Day. I'm going to be out on a little baseball trip around the Midwest, so I won't be back until Wednesday, but you can hear the dulcet tones of Mehrob over there on Friday or Monday, and Nolan as well. Maybe some special guests in there. Make sure you tune in then. Make sure you follow us on all of the platforms, everywhere you get your podcasts, everywhere that you watch these things, on YouTube at Triple Threat Show, Twitch at 3 Threat Show, Instagram at 3 Threat Show _, TikTok at the Triple Threat Show. Find us everywhere. Support us. We appreciate you. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.